right, so getting into the AFC West here, that obviously contains the Super Bowl runner-ups, the Kansas City Chiefs, who, despite a pretty dominant year, have a lot of questions to answer after a rough Super Bowl performance.
A lot of us watch. It wasn't as dominant as it looked, but it was pretty dominant. Whenever they tried, they were getting the job done. They've got the best three-headed monster in the game, the best quarterback, top 2 coach. So yeah, they've always got a chance.
And but the kickoff for their issues is the offensive line. That's obviously the biggest thing they're dealing with right now. They cut Schwartz, they cut Fisher, they let their center walk.
Honestly, surprised on how bad they've let that develop.
Especially because they have cap space. The Chiefs, after their restructurings and with Patrick Mahomes with his early cap hits not being manageable, the Chiefs are currently at $40 million in cap space. So it's not like the Chiefs don't have the money to go make moves. They if they were smart, and I'm sure they are, it's just don't know how realistic it is, they would go throw whatever they could at Trent Williams.
Yeah.
If you throw whatever you can at Trent Williams, they're easily right back in the Super Bowl, probably winning it pretty handily with a tackle like Trent Williams available. But we don't know how realistic that is. But this is Kansas City. We know Kansas City likes to go big game hunting. They prefer to have like a few big contracts and everybody else being cheap over a more balanced unit, which makes sense when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes paired with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. That offense is basically unstoppable. So the old line is definitely the big time needs here. So Trent Williams, that's a big time target. I thought Joe Thuney, because they definitely need some material help too. So throwing your money at one of the big fish on the offensive line to try to help protect Patrick Mahomes in any way, shape, or form, I definitely think it's the right decision for them to start off free agency.
Yep, definitely. I think they're gonna be. I think they're lucky though that a lot of these good offensive linemen got cut this year, and unfortunately Kevin Zeitler came off the market. That would have been a good get for them today.
Mm-hmm.
But they're lucky that a lot of good free agents got cut on the offensive line because they could get those guys for cheap. So they should be fine there. What about defensively? Hey, that defense leaves a lot to be desired sometimes.
I mean, it's like, as we've seen from Kansas City, their defense has shown the ability to win games for them. So it's not like the defense has so many holes that they can't make. They need so much help. You still got Chris Jones and Frank Clark manning up the defensive front. Tyrann Matthews holding on the back end, and they've got really good production out of guys like Javarius Ward and
the Snead kid,
Brashad Breeland. L'Jarius Sneed looks like a steal of a pick. So the Chiefs defense isn't as far away from being good to go as you would think. So my first piece for the Kansas City Chiefs on the defense was KJ Wright from Seattle. That's a veteran defensive presence right there. They need linebacker help. You can't keep surviving with Anthony Hitchens and Damian Wilson. As a Cowboys fan, trust me, you got to go get another guy, a guy who's smart, a guy who can play pass coverage. I think KJ Wright's a perfect fit for Kansas City, and he'll come a little expensive, but they have the money, and I definitely think that would be a good fit for them.
I think they could get him, but I think Kansas City could get any veteran player for cheap, so I don't ever really worry.
Cheaper than maybe other guys, but I don't think guys are coming for nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Next I had was Chido Awuzie. Since apparently Kansas City loves former Cowboys, I went again and paired him up to be a guy who can possibly come in and be an upgrade over Brashad Breeland or Javarius Ward. Pair him with L'Jarius Sneed. He's probably a better fit as a number 2 guy, which he'd be able to go play in Kansas City. And I think that'd be a good, with Steve Spagnuolo coaching him up over there, I think he'd be a good fit.
Spags will always get the job done. He's a veteran coach. He's one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. Good on for him. So I guess now we go to Las Vegas. Yeah, the best thing about their team is that brand new stadium they opened up downtown in Vegas, in that Vegas area. Good on for them. It looks amazing on TV. I definitely got to visit sometime. And they've already traded away Brown, marking the end to that terrible first offseason that John and Mayock had there together with Antonio Brown, and when they brought in Antonio Brown, and they brought in Trent Brown, and they brought in, who's the other guy that busted out? So many. They were so terrible that offseason. Mm-hmm. Oh, LaMarcus Joyner.
Yeah, can't forget about the draft picks of Cleveland Farrell and Jonathan Abrams. It's Damon Arnett. It's been rough for it, but somehow John Gruden keeps coaching these guys up.
We were recently talking about that terrible Texans offseason. That offseason matches that terrible last year Texas offseason. Nobody knows what they were doing that year. None of the things they did. Sometimes it just never works. But they also should cut Jeff Heath this year and make up some more money. You could saving $3 million cutting Jeff Heath. That's definitely worth it. and they could save up another $11 million if they got rid of Mariota. So I would definitely.
Yeah, Mario seems like he's probably gonna move on and try to see if he can latch on somewhere else to be a bridge guy.
Yeah, that'll get him to about over $40 million in cap, and after that, I don't see them not signing Josh Johnson, the safety for the Rams.
Oh yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
I've got them to giving him 4 for 45. Pretty pricey, but they've been looking for that safety position endlessly. And I think they might finally get it if they got Josh Johnson, the second Rams safety they'd be throwing a big bag at. Also, I think they have to re-sign Nelson Aguilar. I just think they have to. I gave him $12 million per.
Oh wow, that's a big deal for Nelson Aguilar. Are you sure this isn't a one-hit wonder type of season? Do you really want to commit to that?
I think that's their price for Nelson Aguilar. I just think it is. I also think teams like Vegas, some teams just have to overpay because they know players know they'll have to. It's a shame because I thought they really needed a pass rusher, but as we found out this morning, Shaq Barrett's going out. I thought they were going to give Shaq Barrett that 4-year, $100 million contract.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what he kind of left on the table, not going to a team like Vegas, but lucky for him, he went right to Tampa Bay.
What about Carl Lawson for them? You got Rod Marinelli coaching up that defense. You know he loves base 4-3. Carl Lawson fits that scheme to a T.
I just don't think that that's the type of player they're looking for.
That's fine.
I think they'd like Trey Hendrickson more than Carl Lawson.
A bigger body.
Yeah, that's just how I feel for their scheme. But that's really it for them. I mean, sooner or later they're gonna have to address that quarterback situation. Also, I don't really know. They've got time left on that Gruden deal, but he's got to turn this team around sooner or later. They can't keep starting 5-2 and finishing 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna get the job done. And then next deal, the other choke artist in that division, the Chargers.
Chargers.
Who I think this is the sleeper team in the AFC.
They're in a great situation right now.
If everything broke right for them, they could be the second best team in the AFC. Mm-hmm. They could do what Tampa Bay did last year and still not win the division and still be a contender. Because as long as they got Herbert, he's really good. He looks like he's got some potential. And after cutting Linval Joseph, and getting rid of Turner, and if they were to extend, let's say, Mr. Williams, who they have on their offense at receiver, they can open up another $40 million in cap space.
With the QB on a rookie deal, this is the time.
This is the time, and so of course I've got him giving Trent Williams that fully guaranteed 2 for $50 million offer. Mm-hmm. I think if they went and got Trent Williams to book in with Brian Bulaga at the right tackle, that's it.
Yeah, just knowing the Chargers, those guys will probably play 10 games combined.
Yeah, we know how that goes. I mean, it is what it is for the injuries, but yeah. And then I also think if they're going to get Trent Williams, they should also go get Joe Thuney. Mm-hmm. They should complete that offensive line. If they could get Trent Williams and Joe Thuney, and then maybe get a backup quarterback like a Jacoby Brissett, that's a perfect offseason. Jacoby Brissett, who also played with their new head coach from... No, they didn't go get the Indianapolis guy. The Indianapolis guy actually went to Philly.
Who was coaching in LA?
They got the Rams guy. The defensive coordinator for the Rams.
Patrick. No. What's
his name escapes me right now. Just feel sorry for him. I thought it was a decent signing too. But yeah, if they could get a backup quarterback like Brissett and Williams and Joe Thuney to finish their offensive line and protect Justin Herbert, they'll be perfectly fine.
Brandon Staley.
That's a good hire. Mm-hmm. They'll be perfectly fine. They just got to get out of that LA Chargers curse. That's what
hitting on Justin Herbert at 6, he's like a great start to that.
I mean, they had Phillip Rivers there for all those years, so he could just be the next Phillip Rivers and have that type of career. Hopefully not. He's got some talent on him, lots of potential, so good on for them. So, and then I guess lastly we'll talk about
the Dwellers in Denver.
They're not that bad. This is a team that had to play a undrafted free agent receiver at quarterback this year.
If there was a team that got hit by COVID the most, you could argue it would be Denver. They had just so many issues. I love Jerry Jeudy, who they drafted, but there's a lot of questions about Drew Lock right now. Obviously, that's a second-round quarterback, so he doesn't have the outstanding talent that maybe a guy picked in the top 3 would bring a kind of hope.
Well, you could look. I mean, every quarterback taken in his draft, with the exception of Kyler Murray, was probably a second-round quarterback.
Exactly.
And he was the one that had to go in the second round. The other guy is in Pittsburgh now. He didn't even last in Washington that much longer.
So the big question is, can they really sit here and think that Drew Lock is their guy going forward? So my first pickup for Denver was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick, another popular name over here, but a guy who is
It's
one
Ryan
of those
Fitzpatrick.
bridge,
He's popular everywhere.
but another guy who could be a bridge / competition for your young guy. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick makes a lot of sense in Denver for a team who has a need at the quarterback position right now because they haven't really shown the ability to address that position outside of signing Peyton Manning in 2011. But for a team that's picking number 9 overall in the draft, are probably just too far back to draft a quarterback. Maybe they go get one in the draft and move up, but that remains to be seen.
Definitely, I think they're stuck they're kind of stuck in that Giants position where they're stuck with their guy for one more year and they probably got to bite that bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily they have weapons, so and their offensive line is turning around. So I'm guessing you just use the money that they created for free agency on defense.
Yeah, I think defense is a much bigger need for Denver right now. They've invested a lot in that offense. KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy. They've spent a lot of resources on trying to. Albert O's big time. They got 2 running backs in the backfield. They've really spent a lot of Garrett Bowles ended up popping for them.
Philip Lindsay is a restricted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think they'll handle that situation?
It seems like what was he? He was undrafted. So if you give him a tender, probably a second round tender, you could probably keep him around without anybody really sniffing too hard, and keep him for cheap for at least this year. You can always adjust running back running backs are fine anywhere. So I really don't think that if a team really wants Philip Lindsay, you let him go and try to address it elsewhere. But right now, I think you're fine at the running back position. What I really think is that they got to move forward to trying to rebuild that defense. We know that when they actually won the Super Bowl, is because their defense was elite all around. They have a big time decision to make on Von Miller, who is owed $22 million when the new league year begins. So 32 years old, coming off another season which he didn't finish because of injury. You got Bradley Chubb. I don't know what you really. I think you should keep him around for one more year.
Can you keep him at that price?
You're not really paying anybody at the quarterback position. They already have $31 million, and I don't really think you need that much more money to go after the free agents that they could really use. So I think letting Von Miller close out, maybe trying to get an extension with him or restructure something to keep Von Miller around would be a better decision than just cutting him outright.
Definitely.
I thought definitely they have to address the cornerback position. They really don't have anything. I can't even name a starting corner for the Denver Broncos right now. That's how rough it's been for them. They let Chris Harris go. They haven't really been talented in the secondary in a while. So I went with William Jackson. Obviously, he's the big fish at cornerback in free agency. They have the money to go throw a lot of money at him.
He'd fit the Vic Fangio scheme very well.
And look at the division you're playing in. Pat Mahomes, Derek Carr, and those guys in Vegas can make a lot of plays. Justin Herbert and the Chargers. You gotta help that secondary. You have to give yourself a chance to guard these guys, because if you don't, then you're gonna need 50 points a game to win. And with Drew Lock at quarterback, I just don't know how you're gonna get to that mark. My next thing was addressing the offensive line, because one thing that was actually underrated about Denver this year was the fact that Drew Lock took a beating. Now, some of that may have been from holding the ball too long. That's fine, but Garrett Bowles is nice from the outside, but they really are missing talent outside of that. So
it's crazy that he finally had a big year. Do you think he was a one-hit wonder, or is this?
I mean, he was a first-round guy. People thought that he would take a little while. I think that was definitely the chatter around his draft time. Not as good as Ryan Ramczyk, but he's definitely shown enough that you can think that you can at least play him out there and get quality tackle production for the next few years. I'm pretty sure they paid him. So Garrett Bowles is definitely their guy.
They did pay him. They extended him during the season. Mm-hmm. They got right on it. Like a good organization.
Like a good organization. So I went with Joe Thuney from New England. New England's been very active in free agency already, but they're clearly going to let him walk. He would be a good guy to help shore up the interior of the offensive line. Ronald Leary never really worked out for them. Connor McGovern seems to be more of an average player than anything else. So I definitely think that a Joe Thuney along with a Corey Linsley, maybe do that kind of two pair to really shore up the offensive line. If the offensive line is quality, the offense has more than enough players at the skill positions to be really effective in the AFC West.
Yeah, if they could fix that interior, they got the tackle. I'd put you could finish that left side, put Thuney at left guard, and then Lindsey at center, and you have your whole future of your left side for the next couple seasons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even think about them getting better in the interior. That'd be really good for them. So I guess the last question is, who's the biggest threat to Kansas City? And first, what's the chances that Kansas City doesn't win this division next year?
I think probably less than 10%.
I've got it at about less than 3%. So we're on the same page there.
Yeah, it's Kansas City still have to be. They have Pat Mahomes. That's the ultimate trump card. This Andy Reid. The two weapons are still there. They're the favorite. I think that there's a question about that. The next favorite has to be Vegas, in my opinion, just because they've matched up the best with them. I think John Gruden is probably the best coach outside of Andy Reid in that division, and they've been close a couple times, and they should have beat them. They should have swept them last year. They hit Jason Witten on a touchdown with less than 2 minutes left. They should have swept Kansas City last year, and that makes them a playoff team. So I think Vegas should be considered the biggest threat right now.
Okay, you're rock with Vegas. I'll rock with LA. I think LA's the biggest threat. They also split with Kansas City last year.
Mm-hmm.
They were given their second game, but it happens. I just think their quarterback.
They gave him a great fight in the first one, Justin Herbert's first start.
Yeah, don't forget that either. That's also what I'm bringing. Yep, they could have easily won that game if it was not for Herbert throwing that bad interception in the second half. But I've got LA because I think their quarterback is the second best quarterback in the division.
That's definitely the fair argument.
And I also think their defense has the potential to be elite. If Derwin James was to stay healthy and Joey Bosa was to stay healthy, they have a potentially dangerous defense that could slow down
no more Kansas
City. Yeah, that is a little disappointing, but they've got pass rush. They've got pass rush. But I guess that's it. That'll wrap it up for the AFC West.